Old age is a blessed time. It gives us leisure to put off our earthly garments one by one and dress ourselves for heaven. Blessed are they that are homesick, for they shall get home. I don't know who wrote that. It's anonymous, but I love that. I think Missy Buchanan loves it too. She was the middle-aged daughter of aging parents when she realized suddenly that she'd been so focused on her parents' physical needs, she failed to see that they were wandering into a spiritual desert. That wake-up call has led to a ministry and writing spiritual encouragement for older adults, like Living with Purpose in a Worn-Out Body. Welcome from Rockwall, Texas.
Thank you so much.
Got to be a good place to live.
It's a wonderful place to live.
Sounds solid.
It's solid.
And congratulations and thank you. I'm holding Living with Purpose in a Worn-Out Body, spiritual encouragement for older adults. This was, I think, the first one?
That was the first book. That one was inspired by my parents. And, you know, my parents had been in their early 80s. They were still so active, and they would drive for Meals on Wheels delivering food to other people, and were still so engaged in the life of their church. But as often happens, things change. And for them, theirs was decline over time. For others, it may be a stroke or something that happens immediately. But what had been, if you think in concentric circles, you know, that outer circle is the active older adults, and that's where we all want to be and stay for as long as we can. You know, they can still get on the bus and go see the leaves that have changed and be gone away from home for a week or two. But as things do change, that circle gets smaller, and they want to stay closer to home, and routine becomes more important to them.
The familiar.
Yes, and then often life goes down to a single room, either an assisted living or a nursing home or something. And I watched my parents begin to go through this process. And just like you said, one day when my mother said to me that it had been 6 months since she had been served communion, and my heart just kind of broke. I had not thought of that because, you know, they went to their church, and I was assuming that their church was coming to them now that they had moved. They were only about 6 miles away, but sadly that had not happened. And I realized then that they were not being nourished. They had a little Sunday school class that met at the facility where they moved, but you know, they just weren't getting a lot out of the needs that they had spiritually. And I began to look around at others that lived at the facility where they did, and realized they too were in the same situation. That, you know, the church had sadly, it was kind of one of those things, out of sight, out of mind. And I thought to myself, I've got to do something. You know, I've got to do something. It's not that they didn't have faith. They did. Their faith was strong, but they were not being encouraged. They were not being nourished. And we all need that freshness. You know, we tend to think that, well, if you've been engaged in church all your life, you've built up this spiritual reservoir, which to some degree I understand, and we can draw from that. But yet, we need daily encouragement. And when I couldn't find materials that really spoke to their unique needs, I started writing them myself.
And now there are 4 books. I think number 4 is still drying out somewhere.
It is, actually. It just is now hitting the shelves. It's
let me just fan all of them here.
Oh, here you go.
Great themes. Talking with God in Old Age, Meditations and Psalms. Don't write my obituary just yet, inspiring faith stories for older adults, and these are
real life
personal stories.
Yes.
Aging Faithfully, 28 Days of Prayer. They all have a different theme. And what's the 4th one, the new one?
The next one that's coming out is going to be about joy boosters, so what other people can do to bring joy into the life of older adults.
This is such an important theme. You know, it's interesting, Rosalind Carter was on the news yesterday because the former First Lady was up on Capitol Hill campaigning for more help for caregivers, especially those who are looking after older family members. And you know, she has a famous quote, "There are only 4 kinds of people in the world: those who have been caregivers, those who are currently caregivers, those who will be caregivers, and those who will need caregivers." You know, with the boomers moving into this age bracket, we need to be giving it more attention. And as we all know, there are so many senior citizens who don't even get a visitor. Forget the spiritual. I mean, don't forget the spiritual, but they don't even have somebody
to come and sit and give them a hug and give them a touch. You know, that is so true. And unfortunately, and I am a boomer, so I can speak to that, boomers tend to not want to talk about things about aging. You know,
little fear factor.
Yeah, a little fear factor. It's the
don't
reality.
Want to go there.
And some of, you know, many of their own parents are getting into that point of decline. And that does bring reality face to face with you.
Now, you weren't exactly the sandwich generation.
My kids were a little bit older.
They were older. But this can become also a very significant burden.
Oh, certainly.
Just how to meet the needs, and when does that mom and dad need more care? It's a stressful time.
It is. It's one of the reasons that at my own church back in Texas that we started, we're doing annually a Loving Your Aging Parents seminar, in which we bring in all kind of resources to address, you know, legal issues, financial issues, medical, physical, spiritual, all the things to kind of help prepare the children, the adult children, for things
coming.
For their parents and then for themselves.
Now, this is a bittersweet point. Your parents' journey had such an impact on you. Your dad died March 2006. How old was he?
My dad was 89.
89, and Mom was 92 when she went home to be with the Lord, May 2008. This is not the first story I've heard. I probably have a girlfriend watching who, like me, in her case it was her dad. In my case, it was my grandmother. When they passed on, friendships had been made. You'd been a regular visitor, particularly at Montclair Estates, and you just kept going.
It was so interesting. After my mother passed away, the first time that I went back, the residents were like, "What are you doing here?" They were so surprised to see me. They said, "We thought we would not see you again." And I said, "But you're my friends." Exactly. So I go every week. Not only there, I go to 2 other facilities. I make it my day because I need their friendship. And I always say, if you don't have a friend who's over the age of 80 or 85, you need to get one.
There's something missing in your life.
There's something missing in your life.
A richness. And Missy, clearly you are listening, understanding the issues of aging and faith. I thought just about made me cry because I think it's page 47. I want you to read it.